everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Today we're going to be talking about my incompetent cervix journey as well as my TAC journey, which is the Transabdominal Cerclage journey. And we also will touch on just my story, my journey to my daughter who is Serenity. So, in 2012, I became pregnant, and at about 16 weeks, my water broke. Woke up in the middle of the night. I had to use the restroom, and when I went to get back in bed, a gush of water just came down. Didn't know what was going on. My husband rushed me to the hospital. They took a sonogram and they said, you have no more water left in your bag or in your sac. I didn't know why my water broke that early. I didn't know that your water could break as soon as 16 weeks in gestation or in pregnancy. So the doctor came in with a report after trying to figure out what happened, and he basically said you have a weak cervix. I didn't know what that meant. I googled weak cervix, and under weak cervix came incompetent cervix, which had a list of all other different types of cervical issues under incompetent cervix. So his suggestion was that I get a vaginal cerclage. Okay. 2 years later, I got a vaginal cerclage with my second pregnancy. Well, at about 20 weeks, I started having a little bit more of what I thought was discharge, but when I went to the hospital, come to find out it was amniotic fluid. I was told that I had bulging membranes and that they had to remove the stitch that was in my cervix, which is a McDonald cerclage. I'll insert a photo of the different cerclages that you can get, or the different types of cerclages that they are, and how far up on the cervix they will go. I'll insert that somewhere in the video. Okay, so they took the stitch out. About an hour later, my membranes ruptured, water broke, and they could not save my son. Okay, so I said, okay, maybe I didn't get the stitch early enough, because in that pregnancy, I got the cervical cerclage at about 14, 15 weeks. The earliest that you can get it is 13 weeks. Me being in my head about things, I'm constantly blaming myself about what's going on with my cervix and what's going on with me. So 2 more years. It's crazy how I get pregnant, or how I was becoming pregnant in 2-year increments, or every 2 years. Like, it was weird, but that's how it went down. 2 more years later, I got another cervical cerclage, McDonald stitch. Got it at 13 weeks, as soon as I turned 13 weeks. And I had some discharge. I felt weird about something, so I immediately went to the hospital, to the emergency room. And they told me I had bulging membranes. However, my sac was still intact. They were just going to put me on hospital bed rest. So they put me on hospital bed rest. About a week later, membranes ruptured again when I got up to use the restroom. And it's weird because I put a lot of pressure on myself to stay in that bed, to use the bedpan to use the restroom, you know, to not have gravity work against me during that time. However, I became comfortable and I got up to use the restroom. So something as simple as getting up to use the restroom when you have incompetent cervix can cause your water to break. So, and at that time I was 23 weeks, and it broke my heart because in the medical field, in order for your child or your baby to be considered as valuable, or your pregnancy to be considered as valuable, you have to be at least 24 weeks. So I'm 1 week shy of them considering my child is valuable, even though every child that I ever had was valuable to me. So after that, my OB recommended that I get something called a transabdominal cerclage. At that point, I really felt like giving up. I was just like, maybe it's just not meant for me to have a child. Even though I'm going to work every day and I'm seeing people mistreat their children. I'm seeing people in the world still being able to conceive and carry babies when they're doing everything under the under the sun. And I'm looking at God, or I'm asking God, like, why is this happening to me? I'm doing everything right. What's wrong with me? And that was something that I really had to work on internally with myself. I did have the support of my husband and my cousins and my little brother throughout this process. Surprisingly, the men in my family really wrapped their arms around me and supported me throughout every loss that I had. And I mean, they would just come over and act stupid, like just stay at my house, act stupid. Anyway, shout out to them. Thank you for that, guys. I'm not gonna get into that because it's really an emotional thing for me to do. But and my mother, she's always by my side 24/7. So they recommended that I get a transabdominal cerclage, and I'm like, what is that? So I got to Googling things, and a few things came up. Also, I forgot to mention, upon my second loss, I was on Facebook and I joined a group called Abby Loopers. This group is amazing. Let me tell you, this group is how I found my tax surgeon and how I ultimately made the decision to get a transabdominal cerclage. So after doing my own research and after researching the Abby Loopers group, I started to do consultations with doctors to have my transabdominal cerclage placed, because I made up in my mind that I was not going to give up. I'm a fighter. I never give up at anything that I set my mind to do. So I went on and I started doing consultations. I did a few in my area. I didn't get a good vibe. You know how you sit down and you converse with somebody, or you interview somebody for something and they just give you the textbook standard, the thing that you've already read, and it's just like, okay, maybe that's their job, that's how they have to do it. But I asked one question, and that was, how many of these procedures have you done? And every time I asked that question to the doctors in my area, besides one, they told me that it's very rare to even have the procedure done, and they probably only did a handful of these procedures in their lifetime, or throughout their career, should I say. So I'm like, okay, if you only did a handful of these, I'm going to let you do that to me, and I'm trying to preserve my uterus and keep what I got going on so that I can someday have a child. I think not. So I did a consultation with Dr. Haney in Chicago. This man, before I could open my mouth and say what the problem was, he ran down my history or the scenarios that related to myself and my situation. And right then and there, I knew, from him speaking in metaphors, I knew that he knew what he was doing. This man, he completely blew my mind in that consultation. And at that time, I made up my mind. He's a very experienced surgeon as well. I'm sorry. He's a very experienced surgeon. He performs hundreds of these procedures a year. So, that being said, after the consultation with him and looking at the Abby stats on Abby Loopers, I made up my mind I told my husband and my mother, I said, we are going to Chicago and I'm going to have a transabdominal cerclage place. I told everybody, told my family, had to explain it to my face turned blue, child, and they still probably don't know what a transabdominal cerclage is, besides my husband, because he's a trooper. He was there with me through it all. But they still don't know, and they still don't understand, and guess what? That's okay, because it's not their journey, it's mine, and what God had destined for me to go through in order to get to serenity. So I booked our flights, I booked our hotel, and we were all to Chicago. Within, I want to say, a month or two. First, let me rewind, I'm sorry. I had to get something done called a hysteroscopy. Dr. Haney recommended me to a doctor or fertility specialist in my area. She worked out of Shady Grove Fertility, and her name was, or is, Barbara Guzman. Barbara Guzman trained under Dr. Haney in the beginning of her career, so he was very familiar with her, and he basically trusted her to relay information needed for my specific situation back to him before I got my transabdominal cerclage placed. So I went in to see Dr. Guzman. She performed a hysteroscopy on me. A hysteroscopy is basically when they insert fluids into your uterus to get a picture of what's going on. Now, you can get that picture through MRI. However, I'm allergic to contrast, so my pictures wouldn't be as clear as it would be for someone with contrast. And to my understanding, the hysteroscopy is better than that anyway. So I had a hysteroscopy done, and I basically was diagnosed with adenomyosis and fibroids. So with all of this, all of the odds against me having adenomyosis, which causes infertility, and fibroids, which could outgrow my baby, I didn't know what to do. I had to make the decision to say, okay, once this doctor goes in, if he has to remove my uterus and I'm never able to have a child, or I'll have a bad outcome from this situation, do I really want to do this? I had to talk with my husband, and we agreed that we're going to do this. So we did. Off to Chicago we go. I believe we stayed there for 5 days and 4 nights. The first day there, we just got something to eat, checked into our hotel, and relaxed. Day 2, it was surgery day. And I was scared. Like, I was terrified, y'all. I was petrified. And we get to the waiting area, and I'm checking in. And they give you a PIN number for your family to be able to check on your status of what's going on with you throughout the time that you're having your surgery. I've never been under any type of anesthesia before, and I was going to be going under general anesthesia. I had to figure that out when I wake up. However, I did. The PIN number that they gave my family was my brother's birthday. My brother passed away in 2016, God rest his soul. So once I saw that PIN number, y'all, I was like, I'm not going to do it. Don't worry about it. We good. We just going to enjoy Chicago, and we going back home. I'm not having this done today. And they going to give y'all my brother PIN number? I mean, my brother birthday as the PIN number? I took that as in, oh my God. They cover, like, it's I'm not going to wake up. Because as I mentioned before, I was terrified of anesthesia. My husband pulled me to the side. I was boo-hoo crying. Like, no, not happening. My husband pulled me to the side and had a quick pep talk with me. Like, look, we came all the way here. You don't want to look back and regret not having this done. So I said, okay. I got called in I'm sorry. I'm checking the baby monitor, looking at Serenity to see what she's doing. She's still asleep, so I'm gonna continue. So they called me in the back, getting my blood work done, and I have small rolling veins. My veins are hard to find. They had to call the anesthesiologist in to find my vein. He found my vein rather fast, I should say, because I did give them a fair warning, because I'm used to being poked like a pincushion, and I hate it. So they called the anesthesiologist to do my blood work and to basically insert my IV, and he went straight to it. He was right on point with it, and he was a very, very nice gentleman. He kept my mind at ease. He numbed the area because he didn't know if he would have to poke me more than one time, which was a breath of fresh air for me. So Dr. Haney comes in. They allow my mother and my husband to come back and wait with me until it was time to go back for my procedure. Dr. Haney comes in and he's cracking jokes as usual. I mean, I'm cracking up laughing. Part of the reason because I did have a little bit of medicine injected in me from the anesthesiologist, but because he's just that daggone funny. So I'm cracking up, my husband cracking up, my mother cracking up, and everybody's having a good time. This man had me laughing all the way to the OR, y'all. I mean, all the way. He walked down the hallway. I'm just a kiki kid. Get in the OR. The anesthesiologist just says, okay, count backwards from 10. Child, I got to 8 and I was out like a light. Next thing I know, I woke up eating ice chips, sitting up. I asked the nurse, I said, ma'am, how long have I been sitting right here eating ice? She said, you've been sitting right there eating ice for about 30 minutes. I was like, what? Like, I was confused. I didn't understand it, but I was happy that it was over. I immediately called my husband and my mother. After about 30 minutes or so, they allowed them to come back, and then we went off to my room. I had to stay overnight in the hospital because I had fibroids removed, and also I had I still do have adenomyosis. So I could not have the procedure done in and out or on an in and out basis. And I'm sorry guys, my camera is dying. I'm going to pick this back up after I let my battery charge. Alright, sorry. Okay, sorry about that guys. So, yeah, he came in the next day. He explained to me everything that he did with my fibroids, with my adenomyosis. He said I had film on one of my tubes, which he removed the film from my tube. We couldn't figure out what that was. Never did. Oh, it's your show. You finished? Say hi. Say hi. Okay, so he couldn't figure out what that was. We stayed in Chicago. Well, he gave me discharge instructions. He also gave me instructions to give to my primary care physician when I return home, as well as instructions to give to whoever my OB or MFM will be, or whoever will be taking care of my pregnancy after that. So far as telling them when I should have a C-section day planned, you do have to have a C-section with the Transabdominal Cerclage placed due to it being so high, so far up on your cervix. They tried to plan it a few weeks early, so you won't go all the way to, 41 weeks. You basically, well, I had my C-section done at 37 weeks. Some people do go all the way, but they try to reduce the number of weeks and have you to have it a little bit earlier due to them not wanting you to go into labor, or they don't want you to labor with the TAC, because that can cause all kinds of problems. I'm not going to go into that on this video, but stay tuned for the next video. I'll go in more in depth into my pregnancy, things that I found out along that road, who my pregnancy doctor was. Or I can tell you who my doctor was during my pregnancy, who's also a tech surgeon. His name is Dr. Atlas. He is in Baltimore, Maryland. I did not do a consultation with Dr. Atlas before having my transabdominal cerclage placed, because when I called his office at the time, he did not accept my insurance, and to pay out of pocket for a transabdominal cerclage can be expensive. I believe Dr. Haney's price is $7,500 if you're paying out of pocket, and I just didn't have that type of money, so I went with thank God my insurance did cover me to have Dr. Haney to place my cerclage. So as I mentioned, I'll go into my TAC pregnancy in another video, but we stayed you okay? We stayed at the Radisson Aqua Blue downtown Chicago, and my husband basically had to help me to get in and out of bed, to use the restroom, and to basically get around for the first couple of days. The more you walk, the better you feel. I flew home on the 5th day. I made sure to get up and walk back and forth throughout the aisles. I made sure to have a wheelchair waiting for me upon arrival at the airport. Both, you know, going home, and once I arrived home, I made sure to have a wheelchair waiting. And yeah, so that's gonna kind of do it for this video. I'll go into my recovery in the next video, and then after that I'll go into my pregnancy, my TAC pregnancy, with Miss Serenity here. So, you want to tell the people something? No? You don't have anything to say? Come on, you want to get out? Come on. Alright. Come on, princess. Okay, so this is Miss Serenity. Say hi, Serenity. Say hi. Say hi. So this is my Serenity. And like I said, look out for our next video. I'll be going into depth with what I went through during my recovery, as well as the video following that will be on my pregnancy with Miss Serenity. Thanks for watching, guys.